Hey guys, what's up? No Panda today, but this is Leo, and he's gonna do the video with me because he was sad he didn't get to be in the last video. And no, I don't have a whole room full of stuffed animals as a grown-up. I only have the two out, but Leo's gonna be here today. So we're gonna talk about Scotland. And we only spent a couple of days there. I really wish we would have spent more time, but we kind of wished that the whole trip that we could have spent more time in lots of places, and Scotland was absolutely one of them because it was so beautiful. So we left Whitby Abbey. If you remember, that's where we were last. We were touring around the Abbey there. So we left Whitby and kept driving towards Scotland. We decided to go inland rather than on the coast for whatever reason. We just did. And it was really interesting. It was a beautiful, beautiful drive, but it was cool to see like the scenery change because we'd been seeing a lot of like purple fields filled with sheep and all of that. Not very much cattle, and we're from Cowtown, so we're used to seeing a lot of cattle. So it was a little bit weird, like, oh, there's a lot of sheep here. And then it felt like as soon as we crossed over into Scotland, we all of a sudden started seeing more trees, which was also something we didn't see a whole lot of trees, like forest trees, but all of a sudden there were more trees, and there were a lot more cows, and there were a lot more horses instead of sheep. It was really interesting. I'm like, okay, I'll take horses. I love horses, but it was just a little interesting thing that we noticed. We stopped at a viewpoint along the way. Sorry, Kitty's down here. We stopped at a viewpoint along the way that is like right by the border between England and Scotland, and there's like a little plaque there that says when they were unified to be the United Kingdom, and it's a really old border. It's like one of the oldest borders in the world. Apparently, it's like 1,000 years old, so that's pretty cool. And you can see there's a picture of our crappy little black car that we were driving, but it was just a little pit stop. We took some pictures, but I don't think we kept them because there's just the one picture of the car, and then we ate a snack, and then we kept going. So we didn't have a very hard time driving, like as far as navigating goes, because things are really well labeled, but we didn't have directions to get to our hostel. We just had the address, and so surprisingly enough, we actually found it just fine. It was like on the outer ring of Edinburgh, and Edinburgh's not actually that big, so I was like, okay, this is not so bad. And we had a place to park, so that was kind of cool. It didn't have like a car park, but it was like a place on the street where we could park just fine. Our hostel was alright. It wasn't like super fancy, but people were super nice, very, very nice there. We had a really big room. It was a 14-bed room. There were only 10 people and it wasn't full, but it had a squeaky swinging door. So that wasn't a super cool part of it. And the kitchen seemed to be always super crowded. There were these Catalonian girls from like Barcelona area of Spain that were just cooking constantly. They were constantly in the kitchen, taking over the stove. So it was just kind of a chaotic place, but it was all right. It was fine. We made a few friends talking to people. The Fringe Festival or Edinburgh Festival was going on while we were there, which I didn't know a lot about, but we kind of learned a little bit while we were there because there are people everywhere. There's like concerts and plays and just like millions of street performers everywhere. Just lots of different things going on. We found out that Radiohead was actually playing while we were there, which my brother just about passed out. He loves Radiohead. And some guys that were in our hostel, in our room, they said that they'd actually seen Tom York, walking around. So my brother was just like so excited. Of course, we didn't see Tom York, and we couldn't afford to go see Radiohead, but it was just kind of cool. All this neat stuff was going on. And there's a really great grocery store really close to our hostel too. Have to mention the grocery store. So we did most of our sightseeing and stuff like in the full day that we were there, because we of course got there like later in the day on the first day, spent the night, and then we had one solid day, spent the night, left the next day. And so as far as Edinburgh goes, that first solid day we set out for Holyrood Palace, which is one of the Queen's official residences, and it was really cool. It wasn't like we had a hard time. The map that I had was like mainly of like the central part of Edinburgh, so the outer parts, which Holyrood was kind of on the outer part, and our hostel wasn't even on our map. We just kind of had to ask people for directions, but we found our way just fine. We went to Holyrood, and it was really pretty. Like, all of Scotland was just breathtakingly gorgeous to me, and it smelled amazing. I don't even know how to describe to you how it smelled. You just have to go there and be like, oh, I know what she's talking about now. It just smelled like a combination of a really fragrant garden and really good food cooking and just a really good, like, nature smell. I don't really know what else to say, but it was so awesome, and just it was just shockingly beautiful. Like, the colors, everything was just really pretty. So of course, Holyrood Palace, where there's like gorgeous gardens, and there's this hillside up behind like the palace, and there's abbey ruins there too, Holyrood Abbey, in which we have pictures of that as well. But there's this big hillside behind, or like a cliff, if you will. It's called Arthur's Seat, and you can hike up it. We did not, but we just kind of walked around, strolled around after we took our tour of the inside. We did get an audio tour of the palace and saw some cool paintings and furnishings, and they have like a room with relics in there that's got like, you know, mostly jewelry, but they have like a skull. I don't know if any of you know who Robert the Bruce is, but his skull is there. It was a little bit creepy, but kind of cool. And then, let's see, the Abbey ruins, I already mentioned those. We have some really good pictures of that. Most of these pictures are photo pictures, by the way, not digital, that I had to scan in because I had to use my 35mm dinosaur camera because batteries didn't get charged on the other one anyway. So if they're not good quality, I'm sorry, but that's all we have. After Holyrood Palace, we took off down the Royal Mile, which took us right to Edinburgh Castle, although we had to weave our way through the millions of street performers and tourists and shops and really good smells coming out of restaurants. And then there were people like handing out flyers for different shows all over the place too. So we actually stopped in some shops. We couldn't resist. We stopped and did some shopping and whatever, and made our way to the castle. And Edinburgh Castle was pretty cool. We don't have tons of pictures, again, because I was using my 35mm, and you get so spoiled when you use a digital camera and you can actually look at the picture you just took and decide whether or not it was good, and you can't do that with 35mm, of course, with like photo camera, with film. And so I kind of didn't want to take too many pictures. I didn't want to have like rolls and rolls of just crap pictures, so I tried to make sure, you know, I was taking a really good one. But we've got some good like views from you can wind, I think we wound up the staircase, and, you know, views from the top of one of the parts of the castle or something like that. But it was just really neat. Saw the Scottish crown jewels. I really, obviously, you guys have heard me say this, I love history, so I love the learning part of it, where it's not just that you're learning about it, it's that you're where this stuff happened, so that's just really cool to me. And it's just nifty. I like Edinburgh. It was a cool place, and I mean, there was a lot going on while we were there, but it was okay. It didn't bother me that much. Like other touristy places where there were, you know, just tons of people, kind of made me a little claustrophobic, but this one didn't. Maybe it's just because Scotland is so gorgeous. But after our adventures in town, we went to the grocery store, and we wanted to try haggis, but not real haggis. I know that sounds wussy. If you don't know what haggis is, I think it's Scotland's national dish. Normal haggis is entrails, like guts, and spices, and maybe some like oats or something, all stuffed into a sheep's stomach. And that sounds really super appetizing, but we decided we would have the vegetarian version and maybe think we're wusses, but we wanted to try it. And the guy at our hostel that runs the hostel, he was Scottish, of course, and he was making fun of us because we asked him, how do we cook this? It was like a synthetic, it wasn't like any animal part or anything, but it was stuff with like oats and kidney beans and some other vegetables and the same spices, like the same flavors, basically, just not guts. And so we're like, how do we cook this? And he's like, oh, you didn't get real haggis? And he was teasing us. But then he was like, it pretty much tastes the same. I'm like, so why are you teasing us if it tastes the same? You know, we just didn't want to eat guts. So we cooked up our vegetarian haggis, and it was really yummy. Like, really yummy, and I'm kind of bummed that I can't really find it over here because, dude, it was good. If you are too chicken to try guts, look for vegetarian haggis, because apparently, according to our hostel dude, it tastes the same anyway. But it was pretty good. It was pretty tasty, people. So we had our yummy dinner, and next day we set off. We left Edinburgh and we set off for our southern route that was going back to England. But on our way, we stopped in this place called Dumfries, or just like slightly outside of Dumfries, which is like southwest. We were heading down the western side of the UK now, because we're making our way to Ireland eventually. And there's this castle called Calaveras Castle that's in or just outside of Dumfries. Awesome castle. It was so cool. First of all, it's out in the country, so beautiful setting, like gorgeous. Oh, I just could have stayed out there all day. Everything was just so pretty. It had one of those, and now, don't laugh at me, I don't know what it's called, but it looks like a big wooden slingshot type thing. There's a picture of it, but it's a weapon. They had one of those. Tell me what it's called if you know, because I don't remember. They probably told me at the castle. This castle wasn't super huge, but it was built in around the 1200s, and then it was taken by siege by England a few hundred years later or something. And this castle, number one, was super cool because it still had a moat around it that was filled with water, which I was so excited, because all the castles we'd seen, I was like, oh, there used to be a moat. I wanted to see some water, and we finally got to see it, and so it had the drawbridge down and everything. It was so neat. And because this castle was taken over after it was originally built, you could see the changes that were made, like in doorways and windows and like staircases that lead to nowhere now, because they like decided they wanted to change it. It was kind of neat. I don't know. It was really cool to look and see, like, oh, that used to be a doorway and now it's nothing. They bricked it over, but it's obviously different color bricks. And I don't know why I like this stuff. I just do. It's really cool. But we had a good time. We were just like strolling all around. Like I said, it wasn't very big, but we spent plenty of time there because it was just really neat. And you had like all access. They didn't like rope off places where you couldn't go. And so we were like, climbing upstairs and poking our heads through windows and all of that. It was kind of cool. And there was apparently like an older version of the castle that was like back behind, like you go on this little walk through the woods. But it was just a foundation. We took a couple of pictures, but I didn't bother putting them in there because who wants to see a foundation of something that isn't there anymore? It's kind of lame. But after that, we took off and headed back towards the border to go back into England. And I think I will stop the video there because our last day or so in England, we went to another really cool castle, and I have a lot more to say about that one. So I don't want to make this too long of a video. And I will see you guys next time. Maybe Leo will be here, maybe the panda, maybe an actual kitty. He made a little tiny appearance in this video, but I don't know if I could get him to sit on my lap. He's kind of a skittish boy. But anyway, I will see you guys later.